Hi, everyone, and welcome to this ICU Video Junior Football Roundtable. My name is Greyson Knutson, and I'm pleased to be joined by Edmonton Wildcats head coach Darcy Park and Edmonton Huskies head coach Iain MacLean. We're going to chat a little bit about the last couple of seasons, how those have gone for those two teams as ICU Video gets ready to rebroadcast some of those games from the past couple of seasons. We're also going to talk about just the difficult time we're living in now and how these two junior football clubs are getting ready for what we hope is the 2020 season coming up beginning in August. First of all, talk a little bit about ICU Video. They've been broadcasting the Prairie Football Conference, both the Wildcats and Huskies, for the last couple of seasons. It's a 9-man crew. There's a play-by-play guy, a color commentator, and a sideline reporter, along with a producer and a switcher, and 4 camera people. Scoreboard replays, the whole 9 yards. The referees mic'd up. It's a fantastic production, and I'm proud to be a part of it as well. You can't hear him in this call, but he's back at Master Control, making sure that everything runs smoothly. Now, we're going to start by broadcasting games from the 2018 season and go chronologically through up until the end of the 2019 season, all the home games for the Wildcats and the Huskies, beginning with a head-to-head matchup between those two clubs from back on August 25th, 2018. The Huskies and the Wildcats going head-to-head at Clark Stadium. So that will start things off on May the 4th. Premieres for all the videos will begin at 7 o'clock each night, and they'll go for these 17 days up until all of the games have been played. So that's all 4 home games for both the Wildcats and the Huskies, and the 2018 playoff game for the Edmonton Huskies as well. Why don't we go back now and bring the coaches back in? We'll talk to both Iain and Darcy here about the last couple of seasons. Iain, we'll start with you. Actually, both 2018 and 2019, you guys finished with a 6-2 record, made it to the PFC Championship game where you ran into that Hilltop juggernaut out of Saskatoon. But just talk about your program for the last couple of years and just how positive it's been to at least get to the finals and take a crack at Saskatoon.
Yeah, it's been a lot of positivity, and proud of the work the guys have put in. Obviously, it's been interesting to see how you have major roster turnover and are able to see some success, and now it's just trying to look at that and take that next step. That's been our goal. That's our mindset. And I mean, last year we only returned 30 players from the 2018 team to the 2019 team. So when you're returning that few players, be able to keep momentum moving and kind of keep that culture and the expectation set. It's a testament to the guys that do come back, and a testament to the coaches, and a testament to the level of compete that we're trying to accomplish. And now it's just working hard to try to take that next step. That's been our goal. That's been our mindset. And I would never call any football season disappointing, because you see a lot of positives and growths. But wanting to finish the season off with no disappointment is kind of the goal of the mentality of our team.
Absolutely. Darcy, why don't we talk to you now? A little bit of a different story for the Wildcats, 2-6 the last couple of years, but there was a step forward last season when you guys did qualify for the playoffs. Just what kind of an experience was that for your guys after a season without making the postseason, to get that experience and that taste of playoff football?
We didn't have the start that we wanted to in 2019, and again, we were fairly young group, but we had set some high expectations for ourselves. I think at the end of the season, we ended up having to play the Hilltops, Huskies, Hills again in the playoffs, and that having to prepare 2 best teams in our conference, having to raise our level, something that benefited us.
Iain, is there a moment from the last couple of seasons that maybe stands out in your mind a little bit more than some of the others? I know it's tough to try to rack back, 700 plus days, but I know you guys had just an outstanding home playoff game against Regina 2 years ago that went into overtime, and then you went down and beat the Thunder last season. Maybe is there a moment that kind of jumps out and stands out in your mind, Iain?
So I think for me, it's seeing the monumental growth in the players and the guys, and the on-field product. I mean, that playoff game at home against Regina was a fantastic game. It was one of the best football games I've ever seen, let alone been a part of. And the playoff game this year in Regina was really good too. And the same level of compete and the same level of tenacity. So it's that, but it's also the off the field stuff that sticks in the mind really, really strongly, and seeing the work the guys have done in the community, their education paths, and seeing those things that make you realize kind of why you spend all the time doing this.
Darcy, I want to ask kind of a similar question to you. There haven't been as many wins as the Huskies, but is there one that maybe stands out a little bit more, or maybe a moment in a game where you saw someone take just a huge step forward and, kind of really cement themselves? Is there a moment like that you can kind of recall?
Well, I mean, we, again, like we talked about earlier, we went our week 4 and going into our bye week, that was a devastating loss. And, we had to do a little bit of soul searching in our locker room, and I just came out and we played Winnipeg after our bye and went to an empty game. Our defense basically shut down their offense, which was, one offenses in our league. And we finally got to establish a little bit of an identity on offense, which was running the ball. We have 2 really good fullbacks, and Zach Prankert and Mike Ray, and we utilize them in packages, and that really carried us forward through the end of the year. And then again, like we talked about, going into Saskatoon in a semifinal game, and we were within 1 score going into the second half. And again, I think our guys recognize that we're able to compete, and that's usually the first battle you have to accomplish is the belief in the group. And like I talked about earlier, I really believe that this is a group that's going to be able to play with the top teams in our league and in our country.
Absolutely. Now, when we go back and watch these games from the last 2 seasons, there'll be 4 head-to-head matchups between the Huskies and the Wildcats. Iain, maybe you can speak to this first, but what's that rivalry like?
I mean, you got 2 teams in the same city, so there's going to be some natural rivalries there. We try to build a mindset of our guys of preparing for every game in the same way and preparing for every opponent the same way. So it's trying to have that focus on playing for each other, and that should not change no matter who we're playing. But it's fun for the guys because they get to play against guys that they played entire lives. They get to compete against guys that they know. I mean, the age that we live in, they all know each other, which is not as even when I played, which was about 15 years ago. So it's interesting to see that. But they're a lot packed, and it's an important part of it, and it's also pretty cool to see. I mean, this is my 11th year coaching in this league. Now you see these guys that you either play in these games and you're coaching them, or you're coaching against them, seeing them now years later, still remembering those games and relishing those games and missing those games.
Darcy, I guess you could probably kind of echo kind of those same sentiments, I would imagine. Obviously, Husky Wildcats, you want to look at it like just another game, but it means a little bit more, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, I think where you look where both teams are right now in terms of like the Huskies are challenging for the conference championship, and we're trying to get in there. So again, anytime you get an opportunity to play against one of the best teams in our conference, you're looking up for it. I think it's just interesting, regardless of where the teams are. We still get it's the best crowd of the season for both games. The environment is excellent. So in terms of our players, and we're trying to give them certain experiences. I mean, that's second to none. They have their high school rivalries and this one steps up a little bit. And again, it's just something exciting. I think that the biggest thing is that one of the things we talk about is, these guys, you play against them for your junior career. And then usually what happens is later on in life, when you're done playing, they end up being really good friends and people that when you see out and about, or maybe you become teammates on another team. But the bond of playing junior football is real, and we see it all the time. And people our age who, whether they were Huskies or Wildcats, it's that bond of playing playing junior football and playing in that carries through with them for the rest of their life.
Awesome. Iain, let's get back into more of the present time. How was the off season for the Huskies? And I guess in the last couple of months, last few weeks, how have things gotten a little complicated with everything that's been going on with the world with COVID-19 and things basically coming to a standstill at the moment?
Yeah, our workout attendance has really plummeted since March, so that's been frustrating. I got to figure out how to fix that. It's been like everything and for everybody in every facet of life. It's been new. It's been difficult. It's been scary. You know what? It's been great to talk to the players, the first year players and the veterans, and the fact that football is still such a priority and still such a thing that's tying everybody together. So we've instituted, instead of team meetings, we have now Zoom meetings, and that's been hilarious to watch that come together and see the hilarious backgrounds that guys choose and just them still being but missing football. The part of it and the mantra that we've made to all of our players is and coaches. We don't know when the season's going to start up. We don't know what that's going to look like. We don't know what the changes are going to be, but we want to make sure that we're the most mentally and physically prepared as possible so that when the season does start, we're able to go in there and be healthy, but also go in and compete. So that's been fun to learn and progress. And I would say it's in a very weird way, it's a very interesting piece to be a part of and to try to manage and facilitate. But just how much guys need football. Whether they're a first-year player coming out of high school or a guy going to their senior year, just how important this game is for them, not just for the on-the-field aspect, but the motivation and push it does for them in the classroom. We had over 60 players on our team who were in some form of post-secondary education last year, from Nate to McEwen to Kings to Concordia to the U of A. And that despite the fact that they're still trying to figure that part of their lives out, the football matters so much to them. And the football part of it is helping them motivate them in the schooling aspect. That is still some normalcy that's been important for them, and that they're just craving some normalcy and some structure in their lives.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point, Iain, is that so many of these players on both the Huskies and the Wildcats are in school. They're still trying to get degrees or work on apprenticeships or all that sort of stuff. And it's not easy for students right now. And some of them are also have part-time jobs and have been affected in that way as well. So it's really important, like you said, for this league to kind of get going hopefully right away here, so there is some semblance of normalcy. Darcy, why don't we bounce over to you now? Obviously, everything's been kind of technological, Zoom meetings. I don't know if your coordinators have set it up with the defense and with the offense, running back coach, that kind of thing. But how have you taken an approach to maybe some of the off-season workouts then? Obviously, we can't all get together in a gym somewhere and lift or run for a while. How have the players taken it to that, Darcy?
Yeah, I think if I basically, you know, like everyone else, we were just getting into the meat and potatoes of our off-season workouts where we were bringing the guys together. I mean, obviously, we had to make a couple changes at coaching on our staff, and that's always a little bit of a stress. You know, we had Andy Pilon and Donnie Obenauer in, and again, I really love those guys and young coaches coming in and working hard, and we were, you know, we had the club, you know, trending in the right direction, and like I talked about, the way we ended the year was pretty positive, and then obviously, you know, like this situation, life happens, and commitments and responsibilities have to change a little bit. So we went out, and I was, you know, to be able to get Paul Schwartz, who was a former Wildcat from '92 to '96, and you know, was a heart and soul guy as a player, went on and became, you know, a great coach out at Ardrossan, and has built himself a great reputation as an administrator in Elk Island Public Schools. Obviously someone that I respected a lot, and then to make that call and have him accept that kind of recharged us. And again, easy to get some people to come in and work with someone like Paul, and the players can get excited again, and knowing that, you know, they've got someone with a lot of experience in provincial level and in provincial finals. He's you know, done senior bowls and done Team Alberta stuff with the U17 and U18 programs. So that was exciting. And then, you know, wasn't in a real rush to go out and find another offensive coordinator. I wanted someone who would be able to fit into, what we had developed in the last 4 weeks. And then we, were fortunate enough to get Kavis on board, Kavis Reed. And that obviously, is something that, again, going through our offensive meetings, the benefit of what's on with the distance learning and isolation is that we've been able to really take our time and have a lot of productive meetings. And as Iain had said, we are not in control of when we can get back together. What we are in control of is making sure we are prepared. Thank goodness that the weather turned a couple weeks ago and our guys could start getting outside and start doing some activities, running hills and hopefully again, as things progress, we can start getting our groups together. But, at the end of the day, we're going to have to listen to the professionals. And, if it means we continue to do distance learning with our guys, that's going to be what we're going to do, and we're going to make the most of it.
Absolutely. We are getting into May, and that would be spring camp season. Iain, I'll pose this question to you. What's a realistic timeline for when training camp to start to when the season is start, where you think that your guys have had enough on-field time that, we're going to avoid injuries and everybody's kind of up to speed with what you guys want to do? What's a timeline that you think is realistic? Maybe both would be ideal, and what could be maybe a little bit rushed?
The NCAA is saying a minimum of 6 weeks. That's the NCAA, and they have the resources to probably pull that off and can push their seasons back a little farther than we can. Would it be the ideal scenario? Absolutely not. But I do think that it's something that we're going to have to be very creative on and use time effectively when it comes to install meetings and things like that, so that we're not wasting the time that we are spending with the guys. And the crux of it, and the most important part, is a return to play protocol and a return to contact protocol, because guys haven't experienced that before. And you can train, you can run, you can do all those things as much as you want. But if you're not football activities and doing contact activities, that's where you have yourself at a risk of getting injured. So it's just developing those structures and trying to find a way to strategically pull that off with likely no more than a 2-week window of being able to do that and maximizing the time that you have. I'm not saying that 2 weeks is ideal, but if we're looking at being able to pull off a season and make it work, that to me would be an amount that we would find a way to work within.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're so right. The contact is the most important thing, I think, in football, hockey, any of those contact sports. You need the physical reps. You can, like you said, run, you can be on the bike, treadmill, whatever, but it's not the same as actual game action. Darcy, I'll ask this of you now. Obviously, the league has had a bunch of meetings to try to figure out, plan A, B, C, D all throughout the line. Where do you see things moving, and is it even possible to even think of anything in terms of a season until we get a little bit more clarification from groups like the government and how they want to run sports, not maybe necessarily professionally, but amateur-wise?
Well, I think I heard Iain say earlier how important this game is to all of us, the players involved and the coaches and all of the staff and people involved. So, to say that, we should not try to have a season is wrong. But in the same fact, we're going to listen to the experts, like you said. And again, whenever you start going down this road, there's just so many questions that you have to answer before we even get to playing football. And that's what the scary part is. If it's going to be we're allowed to have groups over 15. Okay, what does that mean? Are we wearing masks or whatnot? There's again, every time you ask a question, 4 more come up. We've been talking to our players just about, we have to prepare like there's going to be a season. That's important to them, important to us. But in the same token, we've got kids who are living out of town, and I understand the stress that they must feel where, they had planned to have a summer job that isn't there anymore. If they're going to move to Edmonton, what does that look like if we're shortening our season? Are you going to be able to get accommodations for that short period of time, or are you going to have to, extend a lease for a period of time when you're not even going to be there because the season hasn't started, and you're trying to make some money? So again, there's a lot of logistics involved.
Iain, how much conversation has there been between, I guess, your executives, yourself, and other groups from around the league, like down in Calgary, Saskatoon, Regina, Winnipeg? Has there been a lot of back and forth conversation about how each maybe city is approaching it? Because every city seems to be different as well. Every province has different guidelines so far as well. Is there kind of some good conversations back and forth there, and how much or how often are you guys talking?
Yeah, and that's the thing. This is a national league. So, I mean, it's not just the PFC, but it's also Ontario and BC. So we're dealing with, in municipalities, there's different rules. In different provinces, there's different rules. We got a really good group of coaches in the PFC. I mean, obviously, Tom Sargent's been around the entire time that I played junior football, let alone since I've been coaching. Scott and Regina, and then the new coach in Calgary, Dennis. They're all really good guys. That's a good group of people who care about their athletes first. So I'm proud to work with them. And I should also not forget Darcy as well. People don't realize Darcy and I talk probably more than almost anybody in the off season. That's a good group of guys who want to put their players first. So I'm proud that we're all communicating and that we are working to make sure that the players and the safety are put first, and that we have a uniform approach to the season, because that's important. When you have a national league, you all want to be on the same page and working together with really important goals in mind, and that's putting the players first and making sure that their safety's there, but also that we get to play football when it's appropriate, when it's safe to do so.
Absolutely. Darcy, I know you're not just involved with Prairie Football Conference, but you're also involved with Football Alberta, coaching the U18s. Obviously, the senior and junior bowls, unfortunately, were canceled for this season. Have you heard anything else from Football Canada about any other events coming up this summer, or are they just kind of taking still a wait-and-see approach?
Yeah, they basically all of their spring programs have been canceled, and we're waiting to hear. We were scheduled to go in July 16th out to Vancouver for the U18 championship, national championship, and that has not yet been canceled. The Football Canada is going to have their executive meeting on May 15th, and from all accounts, that's basically when the decision is going to be made. Again, we had one selection camp in the first week in January. Which was well attended. We had 400 athletes coming to try out for our U18 and U17 teams. And again, the excitement and the prestige of playing on one of those teams is something that, again, those memories will go with those kids for a long time. So, again, that program is, being involved with Football Alberta is something I take a lot of pride in. There's a great group of coaches who, again, span all of the clubs across Alberta. It's going to be very disappointing if that doesn't get to go on, again, for the athletes, but also selfishly for us. It's a great coaching staff, and that's a little bit of my professional development, is being able to go in and spend a lot of time in meeting, talking to all these guys who are head coaches and see what they're doing. So, I mean, that's something that again would be disappointing if that couldn't go. I should say that Football Alberta has done an amazing job in, again, trying to fill that void this spring. They've been running online coaches clinic. They've been well attended, and again, they've got buy-in from all across the province. And like we said, if you're going to find a silver in this whole thing, I think as coaches we've been able to take a little bit of a step back and spend a little bit more time on our development.
Awesome. That's good to hear. I think that's one of the most important things too, is to ensure that, there are still positive steps being taken in a tough time like this. And I'm glad to hear that, coaches are still able to do a little bit of PD and get a little bit better, push each other and learn from each other, I think is a big thing as well. One of the changes that we're going to see when we come back, I'm going to say when, I'm not going to say if, is that non-Huskies versus Wildcats home games will be at Johnny Bright Park at Jasper Place Bowl. So a bit of a venue change. Have you, Iain, start with you. Have you been out there to scope things out? Have you seen some of the upgrades and changes that they've been making out there? And what do you make of the site?
Well, I work on the West End, so I've changed my path for most of the last year. So I've seen it. Clark Stadium has been a football facility in this city for well before my time and well before my parents' time. So, I mean, that's obviously a transition that was made, and that's a place that is going to become kind of the home part of football for a while. So I'm excited to be there. Haven't been able to get actually in the facility and see what the locker rooms and stuff like that's going to look like, but it looks great, and it's going to be a good place to be able to call football home. And I mean, I think Darcy and I have the same mentality. I mean, we'll play in the parking lot if we have to. We're just excited to get back at it and get a chance to break in the new stadium too.
Now, Darcy, though, I ask you this, when the Huskies play the Wildcats, it'll still be at Clark. How important is it to, at least maintain that little bit of football history at Clark Stadium when the two Edmonton-based teams go head-to-head?
Yeah, I think it's, that Clark Stadium for the historians was the stadium of record, and an opportunity there meant something, whether it was, in Bantam when you were playing in the playoffs, or a provincial championship, or in high school when you were playing in your games. And again, I think both clubs need to buy out as possible. I still believe in the last 2 years, our two games have been some of the biggest attended events at that stadium, and it's in that provide a facility that accommodates those big crowds.
Absolutely. It was one of the, I guess, two of the games that we look forward to the most to broadcast. That's for sure. There's always just that extra bit of electricity in the air when the Huskies and the Wildcats get together, and we look forward to seeing that a couple of times this year at Clark Stadium, and the rest of the time over at Johnny Bright Park, JP Bowl. It should be a good time. Gentlemen, Iain, Darcy, thank you so much for taking up probably more than enough of your time here this evening. First of all, stay safe. Make sure that all your teammates, your coaching staff are taking care of themselves as well. And again, thank you for your time. And we look forward to watching the 2018 and 2019 seasons with you guys chronologically beginning on May 4th. That's Monday at 7 p.m. Guys, thank you very much.